Hello, welcome to the New Times. My name is Davis Hijiro. Today's story is one of deep resilience, survival, and memory. I'm being joined by a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, who was barely 7 years old when the atrocities began. Now living in Germany, she penned a memoir about her survival, about her memory as a childhood. She called it Shut Up and Hide. A very striking title. She'll tell us the reason she chose that title and the reason she decided to write a book, to write a memoir in the eyes of a child. Without further ado, allow me to welcome Tete Loepa. Hello, Tete.
Hi, thank you so much for hosting me.
The pleasure is ours. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy, excited.
Yeah, I'll congratulate you for this book. I think, how long did it take you to write this?
I would say that in general it took me about 4 years
4 years.
because I couldn't write it alone, so I had to come back to Randa like 3 times, and I had to connect with people who could remind me some of the things I didn't remember very well.
Yeah. Someone who's just following us and they're wondering, who is Tete? How do you describe yourself?
I'm a Rwandan mother, woman, writer, creative educator, and social entrepreneur living in Germany.
You wrote a memoir titled Shut Up and Hide. And I tried to read a few chapters, and the content here is very, very strong and very deep. But I would like us to begin with your childhood
Yeah.
as a child. And yeah, let's begin with your childhood. What was your childhood like growing up before, or even before we got to your childhood? Why did you choose this title?
So I had actually 3 different titles in the beginning. Then I had to decide which one do I want to keep. And I read a few different memoirs from the survivors of the genocide against Tutsi, from survivors of the Holocaust. And I realized they're all, like the titles, they're encouraging to become resilient, strong. And I have been questioning that, like, what happens before becoming resilient? What are we going through before becoming strong and stand up and work, don't accept to die, become a fighter, like things like that. And I decided I'm going to allow myself to have some vulnerability. And I remembered that during the genocide against Tutsi, my mother kept repeating to me, Ziba, like, shut up. Because I was very small and I wanted to understand what's going on actually. But there was no time to answer my questions. And then I realized I survived because I could hide. So I combined shut up and hide.
You talked about your mother, you talked about your childhood. Take us through your childhood.
I was born in a very small village in Nyanza, the south of Rwanda. First, before my childhood, so my father had 41 siblings.
41
41
siblings?
siblings.
My goodness.
In total, including my father, there were 42 siblings. And they all lived in the same village. And if I remember well, they were all married. They had cousins and families. So it was like as if we had the whole village to ourselves, because my father's father, so my grandfather, he was a chief of the village, and he married 6 different women, then had children from all the women. So my childhood was fun, happy. Like, there was no moment of being bored, because if I was not home, then I was at my cousin's place or friend coming over. And The air was very clean. That's something I keep remembering, like the way the soil smells after the rain, but in the countryside, deep in the village, or the sound of raindrops on the ceiling, these small tiny details, they remind me of my childhood. And we used to play in the sorghum field, like running through there, stealing guava and avocados from the neighbor's tree, hanging around animals. Like we had so many cows and cat and dogs and chicken at
Right.
home.
You're a child. You're playing in the sorghum field with with your siblings. Um, how old were you at that period? I know I said you were barely 7 years old, but do you remember the exact age?
I don't remember the exact age because my parents had 11 children and I was number 10. And my mother says that after number 8, it was
Yes.
not easy to remember when was the other one born.
Really?
So she tells me that I must have been either between 2 years and 5 years or 7 years. It's just probability. And during that time, there was no birth certificate, and all the children were born at home. But I will take the youngest so that I remain young.
So you had another younger sibling. Okay. What did your father do? What did your mother do? Were they farmers? Were they what were they into in terms of earning a living?
My parents, they were both farmers. And on top of that, my father was assistant to the pastor in the Protestant church at the pier. That's all they did, and just living from farming and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So now life is normal. And I know in the book I read 21st of April 1994. And again I'll quote the book. Before 21st of April, there is a build-up. Things are changing. This is what I read. Things are changing. You have people who are telling you stories of what is happening around your neighborhood, your home area. There are things you wouldn't fathom. There are stories you kept laughing at. The people who you were giving shelter to, who were running or fleeing from people. These are things you as a child weren't grasping or wrapping your mind around. What was that feeling? Just paint a picture for us that time as
Yeah.
people are running to your home and you can't remember you can't understand what they're saying, because I remember you wrote your family thought this is something that is distant, not coming to you anytime soon.
Our parents, my parents, they have tried to protect us from knowing what was about to happen. And life went on, we moved on with living a happy, peaceful life. And I remember, like my father with his friend and some other people, they used to sit together, listen to the radio, listen to what was happening in Kigali. But it seemed like even the parents, like grown-ups, they thought this is something staying in Kigali. It's not coming in our village. And
That is Huye.
in Huye. Then we used to see, like we saw people passing by. Some of them, they came to hide at home and they were telling us that we have to flee because there's war coming, there are killings coming. And when we looked at those people, like when I try to remember me and my younger siblings, we used to laugh at them, looking at them like, why grown-up people, they are scared.
Right.
And they are scared of people who are talking on the radio about killing cockroaches and snakes. As a young child, it sounded like this doesn't concern me. I'm not a snake, I'm not a cockroach, so what does this have to do with me? Until then, it happened and it came all of a sudden.
Yeah. What before? So it happened. When did you realize, oh, this is serious? We might actually die.
That happened the moment when, like, there is a part I write about in the book
Yes.
when the killers hit my brother, like the one in the story called Ninja, when they hit him with this thing looking like a baseball bat club or something.
Yeah, I see that.
That's when I realized, oh, so this is getting serious.
So who are the people that hit Ninja? Is it your neighbors? Is it people you had never seen
Yeah,
in your
there are
lives?
people who were around, like active in the neighborhood, in our neighborhood. That one specifically, he used to be our teacher in the Sunday school. Because my parents were active in church, so every Sunday we had to go to church. Whether you want it or not, it was a must. We had
Right.
to go. And when my brother saw that man who was our teacher in Sunday school, he ran to him. He thought actually he's going to save him because we knew him as the
So
man of God.
this was on 21st
This was on 21st in the evening.
in the evening.
Yeah, everything went so fast. And I think for the killers, it was easy to identify who is the target because they knew families of the Tutsis lived in one part of the village, so it was easy to come and attack them.
How did they get to your family? How did they get to your house?
I don't remember like step by step, but what I remember is that me and my two siblings and a friend were just playing as usual. And all of a sudden, I start hearing like people screaming from all the corners of the village, crying, too many dogs barking. I don't even know where those dogs came from. Everything like the chaos, just a shift happened, and houses were burning from all the areas.
So this is something you remember.
Yeah,
You
it's
remember
something.
seeing houses on fire.
Yeah.
You remember hearing screams, dogs barking.
There was no moment of giving a warning. Everything happened very fast, very chaotic.
Where were your parents at that moment? Were you with the parents at home or had they gone in the fields?
No, my mother, we were alone, like as a children. One of my sisters was cooking lunch in the kitchen, and us, the young ones, we were just playing. And my mother came quickly to call us, to look for us. And my father comes later. Yeah, because they also went on with normal life. That's what I would try to believe.
Right.
Or they knew already that something tragic is going to happen. Yeah, but they never told us anything. So for me and my siblings, we just saw it happening.
Screams, dogs barking, houses on fire, and your brother, you see him being hit by something like a bat. Do you run? Do you hide? Do you scream?
I couldn't run because we were in the classroom. So when it started on 21st,
Oh, so you were at a school? You were at school?
yeah, we were at a school. We left home. In the beginning, people said, like the adults in the community, they said we should try to go hide in a church because this is a holy place. No killer will try to come there. But that was not true because they came also killing people in the church. Then we left, went to primary school. There was a school in the neighborhood where they said if we want to be alive, we have to come together. But that was the strategy of the killers, to be able to kill all the people from one place.
Once.
So we all went in the school, hiding there. And exactly on that same evening, like in the night, that's when they started with massive killings. And that's when they did hit my brother as well. I couldn't run because they were gathering everywhere. And the main target that time was men and boys. I remember they undressed me a few times, and they asked my mother to undress me to be sure that I'm not a boy. I think I looked like a boy.
So they separated the men and boys, and then women and children.
We were all together, but from time to time they kept coming inside asking if
So
there
this is
is
at the
men.
church.
At the school.
The
We were at the
school.
school.
Okay.
And the killers were outside, and from time to time they will enter the classroom, search for boys and men, take them out to kill them, and come again, search for more. Yeah.
This is still on the 21st.
This is still on 21st. Yeah.
So among the people they took, there was your brother and your father.
My
Or-
father, my two brothers, exactly on that first day. Because my father was, according to what the neighbors told me, last year I went back to Huye in that same village, trying to meet people who could remember me or remember my father and my family. What they told me, they say that my father was like strong, opinionated, or very tough and very strict. And they had nicknamed him Kagarara because he was very protective of his family and very caring, but then also very somehow like aggressive or brutal to whoever tried to harm his family. And on 21st, when the genocide started, the killers from our neighborhood, they all wanted to get my father. So on that same evening, that's when they took him and my two brothers.
So they take him. Where did they take him?
Unfortunately, until now, we don't know yet. I even went back trying to find out because we have a genocide memorial, and I didn't see like his name on the list of people who are buried there. And searching for my route, I decided, let me try to talk to people. Maybe there will be someone who will confess to me. But it's not easy for them to confess and say, yeah, I killed him. My mother told me, from what she remembers, they killed him also from the primary school on that same evening where we were hiding. But her, she's also not 100% sure.
When did your mother tell you this?
Last year. So it took me 30 years to be able to talk about this, to go back to my home village, because I always used to think, if I go there, maybe these people who came and attacked my family, they are going to kill me or be aggressive.
Yes.
But after 30 years and after a few sessions of therapy, I realized, let me give it a try and go there. And I went with my mother back to the same village, and I wanted to sit with her exactly in the same place where our family house used to be.
Where does your mother? Where does your mother live?
My mother still lives in Huye, but not exactly in the same village.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went with her to the same place.
I went with her to the same place, and I was shocked to realize that the whole neighborhood, it's just like field and land and bushes, and the memories of houses I had from there, of children who used to play with me, neighbors, everything. There was nothing like that. It's just empty. So I went with my mother there, and we were sitting where our house used to be. And I tried to ask her to remind me, what did we do around there? Like, point for me, where did we used to milk the cows? Where did we sit in the
Where were the
evenings?
sorghum fields?
Yeah, around the fire. And she was helping me and also to show me where did like my uncles and aunties live, because thinking of 42 siblings, all of them killed, I couldn't imagine how it was like all of us living in the same community. So we walked around the village and she would point to me like, your uncle Narcisse used to live here, your auntie used to live there, in the whole neighborhood.
So all 42 siblings of your dad were killed alongside your dad
Yeah,
and your 5 other siblings.
yeah.
Well, while you're walking in that neighborhood, that old home of yours, what was going through your mind?
The beginning I was very scared. So we drove there. I passed by the sector's office and I went to tell the executive what I'm trying to do. And I explained to him that I'm scared and I asked if they can give me people to go with me. So I had 2 security people from the office going with me. And when I entered the neighborhood, I don't know where it came from, but there was like strong fear that made me feel like maybe I should go back. But because I had few friends with me and my mother, they kept me strong. We kept moving. And the moment we entered the village, I remember I started crying, like really crying like a baby, loud and strong, because I couldn't believe how it's possible that the whole village, all the memories I had are destroyed and there is nothing left except maybe 2 avocado trees from the neighbors that I remembered we used to run to. And even the street, like the path that goes between where houses used to be, it became somehow closed. There's like bushes growing left and right, and they come and somehow close each other. Yeah. But then I kept pushing because I wanted to find out what's happening there. And I don't know why I used to think maybe there are some of my childhood friends or siblings who are living there, somewhere there. Yeah, and when I was sitting at home or where home used to be, I came to the point of understanding they are gone. They are not there, like facing the harsh reality of being able to understand. No, it's been already 30 years. Now you're sitting here. You can see it's just empty field and there is no house, there's nothing.
This was the place you used to play from, visit your aunts, uncles, and now you're coming to accepting or admitting that they are no longer here.
Yeah.
They are gone. Do you have a memory that I'm not trying to make you relive it, but what's the memory that haunts you the most?
The memory that haunts me the most is it's not even about my family members, but it's about a stranger in Huye. There's a hotel, I think it still exists, Hotel Foko, or it used to be called Hotel Foko. There they had big group, like a big barricade of killers who were there. And people who were able to pass that, they had a big chance of making it to the border of Rwanda and Burundi and moving to
Flee.
Burundi. And I remember when we were at Hotel Faucon, there was a family coming. There was a mother and her daughter, and the daughter was like deeply wounded on the head. And they had both covered their head as if like kind of tying a hijab around the head, trying to hide it. And then a man came. He was very well dressed, like in suit. That was the image of people we thought, or we used to think they come from Kigali, the way he was dressed. And I remember the killers pulling him out of the car, and they started threatening him, hitting him, like all of a sudden torturing him. And the man fell down on the ground, and he was very scared. And when the killers lifted him up by threatening him more, they shot in the air. And it was my first time to hear the sound of a gunshot very close. Because in our village, when they started killing, they didn't have guns. And I still remember this sound and seeing the man fall down on the ground, and while the woman and her daughter were also standing there, waiting to be taken to the place where they were taking people to kill them. This is, even sometimes I get like flashbacks of this moment. Like the look in the eyes of that man, it was somehow as if he was already dead even before they touch him.
So they took him from there. They took him.
No, they killed him from there, from the spot, because they started asking if he has money. He didn't have any, and they started torturing him, cutting off some body parts, knocking him down, all of that. And at some point, they released me and my mother to go.
Where were you? You
We were there also at the Hotel Faucon, but I didn't get to see the end, like how did he stop breathing, if it was from all of those different forms of torture they did to him, or did they shoot him in the end, like what happened. And sometimes I think maybe because I didn't see his end, that's what keeps coming back in my head. And sometimes I even see people like strangers, like when I enter in the banks, because he was dressed in suit. Sometimes I look at people and I think like, maybe it's that man who survived. Maybe is a child of that man, because I didn't see the end. Yeah.
So the suit itself is a trigger to you.
In some ways, yeah. Like black suit. Yeah, it brings back the memory of this man.
So, what about your dad or any of your brothers? Is there any of them you saw their ending?
I saw one of my brothers in the book. I named him Moshe, which was actually his real name.
Right.
Because I decided it's my only chance or way of keeping my family members alive by using their real names in the story. But for other people, I made up other names.
Other names.
And that one, my brother, I saw him the moment he took his last breath. And when he fell down,
Was he shot? Was he beaten to death?
No, he
What
was beaten to death. They didn't have guns there, or they only used guns on people who paid. It was like, if you want to be shot, you have to pay. If you didn't have money, then they used other tools. And I remember when he fell down on the ground, taking
So wait,
his
some people were paying to be killed.
to be shot by
So
a gun.
you'd pay to be shot
Yeah.
instead of enduring the beating and
All the pain, like all the torture.
right.
And the killers would come
So
around in
your
that.
brother, of course, he didn't have any money to pay.
No, he
to be
didn't have
shot.
any money. He was still young, not yet even 15. And shortly before he took his last breath, he fell down on the ground facing my mother, and me, I was laying under my mother, like she was trying to hide me. And he looked at her, and like he called her a few times, and then he asked her, "Why did you give birth to me so that I can be killed by machete?"
Oh my goodness, that's what he told your
Yeah.
mother. Wow. Do you remember the facial expression on your mother's face when he heard those words?
No, I couldn't see my mother's face, but from where my brother was laying, he was somehow facing me, like directly, because I was laying underneath my mother. We were in that classroom, and there was one stair going to like the altar, and I was under my mother. I only remember my brother's face. It was my first time to see like the look of someone who is dying or dead. It looked like as if he was looking at me, but at the same time looking somewhere very far, somewhere that I couldn't even understand, like what is he looking at, where is he seeing. And he had that look for a while until my mother moved me.
So at what point did your mother tell you to shut up and hide?
Already straight from the beginning.
She was always telling you to shut up and hide.
Yeah, I was at the age of asking too many questions.
You were curious.
Yeah, and I didn't understand what was happening, what was going on. And when I asked her the first question, it was immediately like, shut up, Ziba. I have no moment of answering to your questions.
Right.
And when we got in that classroom, after my brother was killed, that's when she had a conversation with me.
Yes.
Where she was explaining me that if I don't want what happened to my brother to happen to me, I have just to do two things: shutting up and hiding. And she was asking me, is this too much to ask? Is this difficult to do? You just have to do only two things, and the rest I will do it for you. I will protect you. And by that moment, I had already started to understand death. Like, I couldn't describe it as people are dying or it's death. I could only see that when people are beaten so hard, or when they're bleeding too much, they stop moving, the look in their eyes change. And that's not something I wanted, so that's why I started respecting what my mother told me, just to shut up and hide. And now last year when we talked about it, she kind of made fun of me, and she was saying that I had become like a well-trained dog. I just did as I was told, no questioning, no doing the opposite. Yeah.
How did you survive, you and your mother? I think from the stories, from what you're telling me, you were with your mother at this point. Before you even tell us how you survived, where you were, these other sisters of yours and siblings who survived.
We all went in different places, different directions, and only me, I was still together with my mother.
What about the younger sibling, by the way?
The younger sibling was killed before, so before we even left our house. I didn't see how she was killed and how she died. From what I heard, like with talking with my family members, is that when they started burning houses and destroying everything, because she was still very small, she died at home in the house. I don't know if it's probably from the house burning or something
Your
fell
home
on
was also
her.
set on fire.
Yeah, my home was set on fire also, everything, and they took the cows, and everything happened so fast. And that's when we left. And with my mother, we went again to hide in a church. Then from a church, we went to a friend of our family, or my father, who was he was soldier and he had a gun. He tried to hide us for a few days, but then the killers kept coming there, trying to see if he was hiding someone. Then he sent us away, hiding in the sorghum field, like different places. There were moments, a few moments we were stopped at different barricades and we were close to dying. And my mother made up so many lies and they would let us go. Then we went to Tumba, like where my mother's sister used to live. She had married Swiss man, like a European man. And she was hiding us in her house for some days. Then the killers kept coming there, asking her to give money, give car, give everything, until she had nothing to give. They started killing some of the people she was hiding together with us. At some point, she got us help from the Red Cross. They took us from her house to a refugee camp, still in Huye, in Butare. They took us to a groupe scolaire where they had also brought many people who came from Kigali. Then from groupe scolaire, they took us to Rwanda. There was also another boarding school, social. Then from there, the Red Cross started taking children away. They wanted to save children and pregnant women, and they sent us to Burundi, where we were living in a refugee camp as well. Then from Burundi, we went to DRC. Back then it was still called Zaire. And we lived in the refugee camp in Katana. And we came back later to Rwanda when the genocide had stopped.
When's later? When's later?
We came back, when did we come? We came back in 1997 because we lived in the refugee camp in Congo for quite long. At some point, when the RPF came to Rwanda, so the killers were also fleeing the country, and they came to Congo. They occupied our camp, and whoever tried to go back home, they would kill them. It was very scary for genocide survivors who were in that camp, who got the news that now Rwanda has peace. They could return home to be able to leave the camp because the killers who were running away and they had occupied the camp, they always accused the people that they are going home to report them to RPF, or they will send RPF to find them. And it became like we became refugees twice, living every day knowing that the moment you try to leave the refugee camp, return back home, you will get killed. Yet we left, like the same people, we left Rwanda running away from. They were the same people who were also
Holding
there
you.
with us, ready to kill us. And I remember that time there also some airplanes used to come and take some children away, like children who had families, relatives living abroad. I don't know how they would organize it, and they came to take them away. Or at some point, people from Belgium, they started coming to look for children to adopt. And they would come with the airplane and take them away. We lived there for quite long, and then later the same auntie, my mother's sister, who had got us help with the Red Cross, she had moved back to Switzerland together with Red Cross and Terre des Hommes and UNHCR. She managed to get us out of the camp, and we left so many people behind.
So there are people who might have died in the camp.
Many, yeah. There are many people who died in the camp. There are many people who were also taken out by some Congolese, like children to be used as house helpers, marrying them at very young age.
In Zaire.
In Zaire back then. And when we left so many of
So
them
there were
behind.
Tutsis in the refugee camp and they were in Hamwe.
Before the beginning, when we went there, it was a refugee camp of Tutsis in Katana. Then at some point, Interahamwe also came there looking for where to stay, and they occupied our camp in the same...
Now they took over again.
Yeah, they took over again, and that's when it became very scary.
You didn't have anywhere else to run to.
We didn't have anywhere to run to. You didn't know if you are going to survive the next day or if they are going to kill you. And that was a refugee camp of only children separated from their parents. So when they took us out of Rwanda and Burundi, the Red Cross didn't take us together with the parents. They separated only children and pregnant women.
So in Katana you were alone?
I was with my two siblings and other children that I didn't know. We found my mother later when we came back to Rwanda. We didn't see her the whole time.
Do you have hope that you would find her in Rwanda? What was in your mind when you was like, let's go back to Rwanda? What were you expecting when you arrived in Rwanda?
To be honest, during that time, I didn't even want to come back to Rwanda because I knew the country as the place we left, running away from people dying and the killings. But as they wanted to bring us back in a group with my siblings, I had no choice. But we had received letters and photos from my mother's sister who was writing and explaining us that now it's peaceful, we can return. And they brought us like that.
You returned with your siblings and cousin.
Yeah.
How difficult was it to go back in the past and write this book?
It was, I don't know if we have like how many levels of difficult, but it was very difficult to go back to these memories and being able to write them not from a place of pain and anger and disappointment and the need to revenge, a broken heart, but writing them from a place of vulnerability and just telling the stories so people can read what happened. I used to write, then take a break, leave it, wait like 1, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and get back to that. And what helped me so much is that I was writing this book while living in Germany, so being outside of Rwanda. To me, it felt like I'm somehow away from these memories. There was a distance between what I'm writing and outside what I'm seeing. So some moment when I was writing and it felt very heavy, I would take a break, go for a walk in the park, and that helped me to realize, hey, it's okay, look, you're in a different environment, you are not even there. So you can keep writing the story and try to imagine as if it's the story of someone else you're telling. And most of the times I wrote from cafes and public libraries. I was very scared to write from home, like in a closed environment. So I only wrote from public spaces, to see that I'm surrounded by other people. And I kept moving up to the end because I'm a mother, I have 2 children. And I decided if I don't write my story, the Rwandan history, as I experienced it, there might be a risk that my children will learn it from someone else, probably who wrote it wrong. And I gave myself the responsibility to write it for my children and for the younger generation.
Your children, how is it is when do you plan to let them know about your history?
They already know a bit because they are very smart. So they ask so many questions. I
Just like
think,
you.
yeah, they got it from me.
Yeah.
And they would ask me, so why don't we see grandfather when we go to Rwanda? Why don't you have a big family? Or why don't we have pictures of you when you were still very little? When we visit your mother, can we play with the same toys you used to play with as a kid? And that's how I started, by explaining them. We cannot find all of these things because they were stolen, broken, burned, all of that. I tell them about my past, but of course in a child-friendly way, using the language that is
I understand.
on their level. Because I realized it would break my heart if I transmit my trauma, my burden to my children. And that was one of the reasons why I started therapy. And my therapist is the one who encouraged me. My children need to know the reality, otherwise they will grow up with questions without answers. So as they grow, they become older, I will be explaining them more, but now they are still at the age of not really understanding everything.
Um, as we come to the end of our conversation, what was the hardest chapter to write in your book?
The hardest chapter, chapter 7 and chapter 9, because those are the chapters where I talk about the massive killings that started very chaotic, and they took many lives of people that I knew. Those ones, they were very hard. I remember I wrote chapter 9 from Kigali, from here. And after like 2 paragraphs, I couldn't continue. So I waited. And then I went back to it again. I deleted this book so many times. I would delete and then I would write. And at some point I was like, no, 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 no. I cannot write this, like I cannot do it. And I used to think, we have so many books already written from genocide survivors anyway, so what am I going to tell? And at some point, I decided, no, I'm going to write about my personal story. It's my own past and stories and experience. And this book is not going to become like a book about the history of Randa and the cause of the genocide against Tutsi. I'm just going to write it as a personal story, recalling the experiences of what I saw happening around me. Even up until the end of the book, there is nowhere I mention genocide against Tutsi, because at that age I didn't know what was actually happening. So I only describe the world around me.
If your father was to hear you, what would you say to him?
So first of all, I know that he would be very proud of me. Very proud of seeing that the little girl he left behind, who was just running around now, became a woman who is building a life, making a change in the community, raising a family. And what I would like to tell him would be to thank him that his pride and strength and being very protective is what keeps me going today.
Right.
Because whenever I get in a moment of weakness or start doubting myself, like, no, I cannot do this, no, this is not for me, I remember, no, my father, he started living there, took care of 11 children, the family, and the whole neighborhood respected him. So he set clear boundaries. And then that motivates me. It's like, remember, you are the daughter of your father. So how do you think in this specific moment your father would do? Then try to do it the same way.
This is a very, very interesting conversation. We could go on and on and on, but because of time, we are limited to what we can talk about. Tell us, where can people find Shut Up and Dial if they wanted it, if they want to read it?
People who are, let's start from people who are in Germany. I encourage them, please support local libraries. Go to your bookstore, go to the library. You can borrow the book from the library, read it for free, leave it there for other people. Or you can buy it from anywhere books are sold. Or if they choose to go digital, they can order it on Amazon or on my website or the website of the publisher, Inzozi Publisher. For the ones who are in Rwanda, they can find the book in Librairie Kirezi, Librairie Caritas, Akitabu, and in the airport.
Right. Allow me to thank you once again for making time to talk to us, sharing your deep and very, very personal story about how you survived and about your memoir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
You're very welcome. So this brings us to the end of our conversation with Tete Loepa. She is an author, she is a moderator, she is a social entrepreneur. So you heard it. If you want the book, you know where you can find it. She just talked about different bookstores, both in Kigali and also people who are in Germany. So till next time, God bless.